guys, it's Shadow the Rat, and for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a rat agility kit sent to me by the Rat Agility Kit UK site, which I will have linked in the description and comments for anyone who wants to check them out for their own rats. But anyways, they asked me to review their kit, and of course I was more than happy to do so because I am a huge proponent of training with your rats and teaching them things like agility. In fact, agility is one of my rats' favorite tricks all around, and I mean all my rats are obsessed with agility. So I was very excited to see a kit that is made specifically for rats, especially since it's such a nice looking and high quality kit. Now I am in the US and this comes from the UK, so for anyone wondering if they do international shipping, they do indeed. So there's a few different ways to get these obstacles from their site. The first is to get them all individually, in which case they are 10 pounds each. Except for the tunnel, which is 5 pounds. However, if you're looking to train your rat's agility, it's actually just cheaper to get their kits, which include multiple pieces each. Their two kits include this one here, which is called their starter kit. It comes with a A-frame, this balance beam with 2 ropes, 2 of their little jumps here, and then 1 tunnel hoop jump. And then you have their classic kit, which comes with a seesaw, as you can see here, a tunnel, and then finally a set of weaves. So both kits here are really cool, and the thing about their site is that you can get these kits unpainted or painted. Now if you get them unpainted, they are of course cheaper. The kit here, the starter kit, is 37 pounds, and this kit here, the classic kit, is 22 pounds. However, you can also get them already painted and waxed, in which case you won't have to do anything to them. The downside to getting an unpainted kit, of course, is that you do need to paint it yourself, otherwise eventually your rat's urine will start to soak into the wood. Now that will probably take a long time. I've had a lot of wooden obstacles for my rats, and I still use most of them several years later because I only use these for training time. I recommend never having props out if you're not doing training, because in all likelihood your rats are probably going to chew on them or pee on them or stuff like that. But still, by painting the kit yourself or having them pre-paint it before you get it, you do ensure that the kit is going to last way longer, because that way it's actually covered against soaking in urine. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and quickly talk about each of these obstacles here because I think they're pretty cool, and I want to talk about some of my favorite things about them, and in one case I want to kind of talk about one critique I have with one obstacle. So starting off with my favorite obstacle here, that's probably going to be the A-frame. The reason I really like this obstacle is because, as you can see, they actually have a chain connected to this little hook, and you can take this little chain off the hook like this in order to make this flatter or to make it more steep. And that's just really nice because it means that when you're training, you can start out with this really flat so your rats are pretty comfortable at going over it, and then later on you can go ahead and make it more steep because that way your rats will be doing more of a traditional A-frame, which is, you know, a little bit more steep like this. So you can just kind of work up their confidence, which is really good with obstacles like this where they need to learn to go slow when they're descending especially. So yeah, I just think this is a really nicely designed obstacle. You can see it has a hinge right here. It's just a really good quality A-frame, and I have really been enjoying using this with my rats in their agility courses, which, don't worry, you will be seeing some agility courses that my rats have already learned with these obstacles during this video. Now the second obstacle here, which I also really like, is this little balance beam with 2 of these little straps. So your rat has to walk across these, and they need to keep 1 paw on each side. And I was a little bit skeptical at first when I saw this because I wasn't sure how well the rats would take to it, but it turns out they absolutely adore it. I mean, they are so good at this obstacle. They picked it up like right away. It's just amazing to me how much they love this obstacle. It's easily the one they get the most excited about using now. So yeah, it's just a really nice obstacle, and it's kind of nice for my rats to try something new because they are used to a lot of agility obstacles, but they've never done something like this, and again, they took to it really quickly, so this is a really cool part of the kit. And as you can see here, it just has these little, I guess, screws holding it on, and it's just very stable. It definitely supports my rat's weight no problem, and no problem for my dwarfs going on it either, so just a very versatile obstacle in general. So next up we have this little hoop jump. Now this one is also pretty easy for the rats. The first time I gave it to my rats, they did try to jump over the top because they're used to that, but they quickly learned to go through the hoop itself. So I don't think jumping over it's really a design flaw. I think that's just more down to the rats needing to learn to go through the middle part, which they did learn really quickly. Now I do feel like this obstacle could benefit from having a sort of base on the bottom, and that's something I've talked to them about. They're very open to critiques, and I think they're planning on making these jumps a little bit more stable, which is just what I think is really helpful when when it comes to agility with rats, because they will inevitably be pushing it around. So I did talk to them about that some, but in general I think it's still a really good obstacle. It just could be made a little bit better if it had a base, which I think they will be adding to it soon. Now next up we have the jumps, which always come together as a pair. So you can see there are 2 jumps here, and you can remove the pegs to make it less or more tall. Personally, I've been keeping it on the 3 pegs because I found my rats have no problem jumping over all 3. But if you have a rat that is particularly nervous, or if you have a really young rat or really old rat, then you could have them use just, let's say, the bottom level and then slowly work up to the top, or just stay at the bottom level, which is really nice. I've been using these for my rats with flyball. I've also been using it with agility. These are kind of just your standard jumps, and in general I just think they're really nice quality. Now moving on to the next obstacle, we have the weaves here. The weaves are honestly the obstacle I have the most criticism about, because while I really like the weaves and the weave setup, because as you can see here, there are actually different holes for you to put the poles in, which allows you to train this kind of like a channel weave, which is one of the ways that people tend to train dogs to weave for agility courses. So it's a kind of nice way to ease your rats into weaving and make sure that they do it accurately before you put it in a solid line. And that's unfortunately where the issues lie with these weaves, because once you put them straight like this, there really isn't enough space for a standard rat to weave through the poles. You can see this just isn't very much room for them, and when they're trying to turn quickly, they actually have to stop between each pole to readjust, which just isn't really conducive to weaving smoothly. So the weave distance here just isn't good for standard rats. It works for dwarf rats, which of course I have 2 dwarf rats, so they don't have any problems with it, but it just doesn't work well for standard rats. But that's okay, because you can remove weaves from here. So I've actually been using just 3 weaves for my rats so they can go through like this, but I have talked to them about this as well. And I do think that they're planning to do either just 4 poles per one of these little boards, or modify it in some other manner that just makes it more possible for standard rats to have a smooth weave through. And I suggested 4 poles because I think that without the 5th one, you could then space these apart a little bit more, which would allow the rats to more easily get through the poles. But yeah, that's my main criticism with these, but otherwise I think it's a really good concept. I like being able to move around where the poles go, and I find they are very sturdy once stuck in there, so the rats are not going to knock them out as they weave through, which is always a good thing. Moving on from the weave poles, the next thing we have is this little tunnel here. This of course is part of a fun tunnel. This is kind of what the full fun tunnel looks like. I have one of these out here for my rats to play in, and this one here I think is just a piece of it. Now I think this is a really good length of fun tunnel. You can see this one here is just kind of huge. You do not need all of this for agility. I mean, you can do kind of like cool shapes with it, but it kind of gets in the way of most courses because it's just too big. So I kind of like the smaller piece here because I feel like it's a good distance for the rats to go through straight. And also, of course, you can curve this like this if you want to make a little bit of a elbow tunnel for your rats to go through. So it's a really useful little tunnel for your rats. And the cool thing about these is that they actually come in multiple colors. So even if you're getting the plain unpainted kit, you can choose which color you want. I believe they have red, yellow, blue, and then they also have a just kind of randomized one, which means they'll just give you whichever tunnel they have on hand. But personally, I think the blue tunnel goes really well with the rest of the royal blue kit. By the way, this is their royal blue painted kit. Moving on, the final obstacle, and another favorite of mine, is the Seesaw. So as you can see here, the Seesaw works really well. The Seesaw is made with this little kind of bottom piece here that's glued onto this piece right here, and these little side pieces have these little, I don't know, staples keeping it on. I'm not really good at explaining it because I do not know the terms for these different pieces, but as you can see, it works really well, and I've tested all my rats on the Seesaw and they have no problem getting from one side to the other. I think this is a really good size. It's not too steep of a drop, so your rats aren't going to be too freaked out by it. Of course, with the Seesaw, it's always best to ease your rats into it, but still, I don't think this is too far of a drop, and I think it's a really good size as far as width goes and length goes. It's just a really nice recreation of kind of just a miniature Seesaw from dog agility, although in this case, of course, it's rat agility. So yeah, I am very pleased with the Seesaw, and I think this is one of my favorite parts of the kit because it's always hard for me to find a good quality Seesaw for rats, and this one, it just really meets the mark. It just has everything I want in a Seesaw. That's pretty much it for all the obstacles here. In general, I think everything here is really nice quality. Like I mentioned, I have a few critiques on, the weave poles and a little bit on here too with the hoop jump as well. But in general, I think all these obstacles are really well made, and I know they're going to be making some changes to some of the obstacles just as they continue continue to fine tune things. But yeah, in general, I think these two kits are really nice. I think they complement each other really well, so getting both of them is just a really nice option if you can. But otherwise, I think both of these kits work by themselves as well. I think every obstacle here works by itself. Just really, it's a fun kit, and it's a perfect size for your rats. And all of this stuff also slots together. You can put the Seesaw in here, and then you can put the jumps on top of it. You can put this on the weaves. You can put the little tube on the weaves, and then this thing here folds up. So very easy to store and doesn't take very much room, which is always good because I have a lot of rat training stuff now. But yeah, I really like this kit, and even though I do have some critiques about it, I think it's very usable and it works really well for rats. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and link their website down below for anyone interested. Again, this is the starter kit and the classic kit. They are two separate kits, but they really complement each other really well. You can get the unpainted version, or you can get the painted version. The painted version is of course a little bit more, but it comes in different colors that are really neat. They have a Christmas theme, they have a red theme, a yellow theme, I think a green theme, and this royal blue theme. And they are always coming out with new themes too, so you might find some different themes in the future. And of course, again, you can buy individual obstacles. So if you're interested in supplementing your own agility things, or if you're just looking to have, let's say, more jumps in your kit, then that is always an option. So yeah, it's just a really nice site. I think that all these obstacles here are a lot of fun. It's just really cool to see more stuff being made for rats to train with. I think this is kind of an untapped market, so to speak. I don't know a ton of people who train their rats yet, but I'm always encouraging it, and I have seen more and more people start to train their rats, especially things like agility, which they're just naturally talented at. So hopefully in the future, more people will train their rats, and hopefully having things like this available, more people will also be encouraged to train with their rats. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you will check out Rat Agility Kits UK. Again, I will have them linked down below in the description and comments, so go ahead and check them out if you're interested in getting one of these kits for your rats to play with. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time. Bye!